questions. Boy, do we have a lot of them. But what if those questions could be answered with a simple email? Now is that time, and welcome to Chat with Charlie. Host Charlie Lynn is a certified spiritual life coach and psychic medium. She will work together with Spirit to answer both your submitted and live questions. Not only will Charlie be providing you with insight, but also interviews with amazing guests. Have a question? Submit it now to chatwcharlie@gmail.com. That's chatwcharlie@gmail.com. Here's your host of Chat with Charlie, Charlie Lynn.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chat with Charlie on WLTK-DB. Let's Talk Radio. I really kind of want to pause there because I have really been thinking, especially over the last couple weeks, I've been reaching out to you guys for the last almost 2 months, coming in and always expressing to you, following your truth, following your spirituality. And as a spiritual life coach, as somebody who's coming here to help you support your truth, I have to support mine. And so, sorry, this is emotional for me. Courage is not the absence of fear. We all step out at certain times in fear. And Spirit's really moving me past that. So I want to start the show appropriately. Good morning, Pamela. And I want to introduce you to the real host of Chat with Charlie, me, Stephanie Lynn. So thank you. Thank you for supporting me within this platform and letting me be me. So enough with the emotion, because I do not do emotion well, guys. I'm the person with the broom patting you on the shoulder saying, hey, great job. So thank you. Good morning, Sherry. Thank you guys for allowing me to come in as your host, welcoming me and letting me be me. So welcome to Chat with Charlie with your host, Stephanie Lynn. Today we are going to talk about all kinds of things. I have some really great questions that people sent in. Thank you, Pamela. I appreciate that. Good morning, Dee. I love you too. And so I wanted to kind of first start with, though, kind of connecting to obviously all this emotion that I started with, but also reaching out to you, because I know a lot of us sit within fear. We sit within worrying about that judgment. And I want to help you move past that. Spirit wants to help you move past that. There's a whole group of people where you may think you do not have support, but we're here to support you. We are here to step in. We're here to say, hey, it's okay. We got you. And so in doing that, looking at your journey right now, looking at where you're at, where do you feel led? Are you sitting in the space where you feel led? Do you feel led to be stepping out somewhere else? And please, this show is designed to be very interactive. So reach out, let me know, where are you feeling led right now? What are you feeling is holding you back from where you want to be? And, for me, it was a lot of fear. And a lot of you may not know, I do write a blog for the network. And part of what started tipping me towards wanting to come out, wanting to announce these changes to you, was my last blog that Spirit led me to write, which had to do with the secrets that we keep. And if you don't read the blog, I implore you, jump on, check it out. I think it's great, but I'm a little biased. And it goes into why we keep these secrets, why we focus and we stay within this fear. And a lot of that is because we're afraid of the judgment. Well, guess what? You're keeping secrets. I'm keeping secrets. Other people are keeping secrets. It's experiences that maybe we are attaching with shame, or we're afraid, hey, what's going to happen if this person finds out this happened to me or this was going on? Well, we're all human. We all have experiences. And so to think that other people within our circle are without these experiences, and to allow it to affect us and to kind of keep us in the shadows, keep us from being our true selves, really is foolish, because other people, you guys have experiences too. So really, I just wanted to kind of say to you guys, don't be afraid of where you're at. Don't be afraid to step out and say, hey, I got experiences. This is what makes me who I am, because it's okay. All right. So if you have any questions, start reaching out and popping them in the comments. I have some questions here I want to go through, but I love additional comments. I love to know where you guys are listening from. So make sure that you're popping in. Let us know what you got going on today, and any questions that you might have. So one of the first questions I got is actually from Rocco in Pennsylvania. And Rocco asks, can ghosts show themselves in different forms? And I think that's a great question. And in my experience, yes, I've seen things present themselves in different forms, but I also have had spirit, the energies coming in that consistently present themselves one way. So I think for first, it kind of depends on the spirit, on who's trying to come in, thank you for tuning in from Minnesota, Sherry. I appreciate it. Who's coming in, how they want to present their energy. I have seen what I would describe as like a mist or a cloud starting to come in as I feel something maybe trying to take form, trying to be more physical within their space. But then I've also just felt things. I've seen some things go from being more of a mist to changing their mass. So I really think it depends on who's coming in, and what they're coming in for. So in short and kind of a simple answer, yes, I do feel that spirits, ghosts, energy can manipulate their energy and come in different forms. You got orbs and all those things. But I also feel sometimes it can be dependent within the situation. So I hope that answers your question. It was kind of a roundabout way, but sometimes the questions aren't simple yes or no's. There's environmental factors and other things that kind of come in. Another question we have from Anita is talking about haunted land. Can a haunted land affect you over time if you live there? What do you do to live in peace together? And this is a great question. I've actually had a lot of questions coming in with attachments, not just land or energy that resides in houses or properties, but questions about things. I like antiques, and sometimes people bring in spirits unknowingly because they have an attachment to that object. And so they're asking about how that happens. How do we pull that in? Or how do you kind of find that common bind, sort of like living with neighbors who don't live next to you. They co-op within your space. And this is another question that I really feel is dependent on the situation, dependent on what kind of spirits you're dealing with, why they're coming in, and those things. I am going to go more into this question, but I do have Ellie, and you guys may remember her from being on the live reading panel. She's going to be coming in September to specifically talk about attachments, to talk about portals and those kinds of things. So start saving your questions for that when Ellie comes in, because she's fantastic. Ellie is a great source on this. So when you have spirits that are residing in the property, I always feel like the first approach is just like you would anybody else, being respectful, setting boundaries, talking to them, communicating like, hey, I really don't like when you leave this cabinet open because when I walk in the morning, I hit my knee and it hurts. Just setting boundaries, talking to them. You can, if it's something that you feel might be more negative or is not respecting your boundaries, you could have somebody come in and clear the property. You can try and do some of that yourself also. So there definitely is energies that attach to places. I've dealt with it in places that I've lived. And so it's really kind of dependent. And I'd be interested to know what exactly your specific experiences are, because that can kind of help to dictate, okay, is this a spirit that's just tied to the property? Is this somebody that's coming and going? Where the energy is what they call an intelligent energy, and it's interacting, and it's not just an energy imprint. So there's a lot of things that kind of come into play with answering that. But there are things you can do to live in harmony with each other. And I do feel that when you have something that's attached to your property or around you that's negative, just like a negative person, right? If you're hanging out with somebody that's negative all the time, if you're hanging out with somebody who maybe is aggravated or easily frustrated, this is really not any different. Because if I'm hanging out with my friend all the time who's just down on themselves, frustrated, I can start to take on some of those negative aspects. And so the such is similar with the energies that reside in your house. So I hope that answered your question. Pamela, thank you for entering a question. She asks, can an energy shift the mood of children's personality? I do think so. And I think this kind of ties into talking about different energies that are within a property or attachments. And again, it has to do with, I don't want to necessarily say empathetic properties of an individual, but it's kind of on that borderline. Because if that's what's around us, or if they're pressing on us and we're picking up a lot of that, it can interfere with what we're sorting out. What I found a lot of times with children within their experiences is a lot of times they are empathetic, and they don't understand that. And they don't understand, like you or I, if we're normally easygoing and all of a sudden, man, I'm really frustrated, I'm really cranky, we can stop and say, okay, why am I feeling this way? There's nothing going on today. Nothing happened to make me feel this way. And we can start to identify that that feeling is not actually our own. We can go, wait, okay, this is not actually my feeling. So where am I picking this up from? And we can start sorting that out. Children can't do that. And especially, in the younger ages. So a lot of times with kids, you'll just see them putting out that emotion because they don't understand. So they're just processing through, and it's affecting them. So yes, I think it can, based on certain scenarios, depending on the age, of a child. If this is something that's happening consistently with them, start teaching them the visualization of bubbling up. I know with other kids, we have said, imagine, you're putting yourself in a clear Pokemon ball. Okay. So you're closing the Pokemon ball around you. It's clear. You can still see out. You can see what's going on, but these other things can't get in. And so teaching them to work through and how to deal with the empathetic feelings and identifying when it's actually their emotion versus somebody else. Emotions are hard for all of us to deal with. And so when you don't have that emotional maturity as a child, I feel like it gets even harder, and then it might be easier for adults to notice that shift in them. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I have notes today because we did have quite a few questions, and so I kind of gotta page through those today. So Diana asked, how do I prevent being triggered and entering a state of worry and anxiety? And that can be a hard one, because sometimes even, like what you guys saw this morning, I am not usually an overly emotional person, but I have, you have that burst of emotion that kind of comes through. You want to be regulated, but all of a sudden that emotion comes through. And so the first thing I want to say in trying to prevent getting that anxiety, being stressed, is let that emotion come in. So feel that emotion and start to understand, why am I feeling this emotion? What triggered me that I'm starting to feel this anxiety, or that I'm starting to feel this state of worry? Once you can start to identify these things that are coming in that are triggering you to feel this way, then you can start looking at kind of changing your thought pattern around it. if it's a situation or a scenario around maybe dealing with family, and you get frustrated in dealing with a person or things that are going on with them, and then this triggers you to worry about that person, look at it, okay, what can I do to affect change? And if there's not anything you can do, which a lot of times there's not, then processing through changing your perspective and trying to let it go, trying to, turn it back over to spirit, trying to redirect your thoughts and understand, okay, I still care about this person. I care what happens, but I cannot change what they're doing. And I know that's hard, especially, when it's people that are close to us, because we want everyone to be okay. We want everybody to be safe. And we do worry, but we have to understand that we're not responsible for other people's choices. We're not responsible for the way other people process things. We can offer to help, but we also have to allow them to make their choices, because that's part of their journey. So I hope that makes sense. Depending on some of the things that are triggering you, setting boundaries to limit that from happening. So if it's a work relationship, setting boundaries about when you're going to work with that person or how you're going to deal with things, and looking at it that way. So as a life coach perspective, to me, it's really about working within the perspective of what's going on, trying to change your thought pattern and your focus around those situations. Pamela says she loved the way that I brought this across, different from what I've heard before. Thank you. Well, I hope it helps, Pamela. And like I said, I am not the go all, be all, know everything. I'm just coming in trying to bring my perspectives, because that's really where I operate from, things that I've gone through, things that I've dealt with, and give you guys maybe some different perspectives or some support or education in some of these things and things that are going on. And I like this because actually I had been talking to Diana about, what kind of questions. And I said, like questions like, do ghosts sleep? And she says, that's a great question. Do ghosts sleep? And I went, oh, shoot. Like, I don't think ghosts sleep. Like, how am I going to answer this question? But what I found interesting was over the weekend during the holistic event that we had in Butternut, I was talking to another vendor. And I had never heard this perspective before, but we were talking about dreams and people who have very intricate dreams and have trouble sleeping because you feel like, maybe some of you will understand this, but there's been times where I've been in these very intricate dreams, but then I feel like the room gets full and I feel like, okay, I'm not alone. And what this person was talking about, and from their perspective, is spirit actually coming in and using your dreams like a movie screen. So for them, it's kind of like going to the movies, sitting down, watching your dreams. And when you're a very vivid dreamer, they're like, hey, come check out this person's dreams. You won't believe what was up there last night. And I just thought that kind of changed my perspective on some of that. And I thought that was a really interesting concept of dreams and what happens within the spirit realm and what they can see. I guess I never considered, does that get projected out? Like our words, do our dreams get kind of projected out into that plane? So on that note, and while you guys all kind of consider who's watching your dreams at night, we are going to take a quick station break. And when we come back, we're going to have some more questions.
Brandon Wainwright is an animal lover, author, energy healer, and former police officer. In April of 2018, he and his family lost their dog Tyson to a brain tumor. It was an inevitable experience that comes with being a pet owner, but it was devastating nonetheless. Tyson's Gift: How an 8-pound canine became a man's greatest spiritual guide. In the story of Tyson's life, from his entry into the lives of Brandon and his wife Misha, to his equally impactful departure and continued spiritual influence, Tyson's beautiful story will entertain and comfort readers of all backgrounds. Get your copy at tysonsgift.com. That's tysonsgift.com or wherever books are sold. From its beginnings, Used was created to unleash the excellence of nature's healing powers and bring them to people everywhere. With almost 90 years in the market, they are considered a worldwide pioneer in complete herbal wellness therapy. All Swiss Used products are natural, essential oil-based, pleasant, and harmonious. They are extracted from plants and herbs with the latest technology to ensure the best results. Swiss Used Live Healthy with consultant Stephanie will guide you in the right direction to find the perfect essential products just for you. For example, have an upset tummy? Try our soothing chamomile that has not only been used by many, but trusted for years. Keep in mind, you just can't get these amazing oils at your local shopping center. They're just too special. For that, you need a connection. And that connection is Stephanie. Want some? Then head on over to Facebook and search Swiss Used Live Healthy. That's Swiss Used Live Healthy and contact Stephanie today.
It is 22 past the hour. You're listening live on WLTK-DB, Let's Talk Radio, to the Chat with Charlie show. I am your host, Stephanie Lynn, and I appreciate everybody tuning in today. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Lori. Thank you so much for joining us. Pamela, I'm glad. I think Pamela says that she's going to have her daughters and herself talk together to the energy in the house. And I think that's a great approach, really starting there. It's building a connection and showing respect, even as I sit down as a medium and I have communicators come in. I have to sometimes build that rapport, especially, if it's somebody who in life was maybe not so outgoing, maybe took a little bit to warm up to people. So we do still have to build those connections with the people who are on the other side. So let me know. I'd appreciate if you reach out, Pamela, how that goes for you guys. I think it'll go great. Good morning, Tim. He says, no questions this morning. I just want to make sure you hear my very big thank you for the work you do. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate, just like you're saying, to spend time with some like-minded people. I agree. Good morning, Erica. Yes, so you guys aren't seeing what is going on the other side, but Jackie, who actually happens to be my sister, just freaked out because she's like, oh, you just said Stephanie Lynn. Yes, I did. If you want to see me crying after the show, go back to the beginning, start over. It's all there. So moving on to some of our questions. And since Jackie has popped in, she had sent a question earlier about grounding. And I think this is a great one because I really was in a place of high anxiety. And I've been up since 1 o'clock this morning, guys, just because of everything that's kind of going on and everything coming up for me. And grounding is so important. And I feel like sometimes we don't realize that. Like at 1 o'clock this morning, when I was tossing and turning and, freaking out and arguing with spirit, it never occurred to me to ground. And sometimes I really wish it would, like that spirit would hit some kind of reset button on my forehead. Like, hey, you're better, relax. Grounding is different for everybody. A lot of times, especially if you work within Reiki, they will tell you, to ground through your root chakras and letting that energy come up. Some people ground differently. Some people ground through their heads. I kind of ground whole body. So for me, a lot of the big things for me in grounding is water. And I've done this since I was a kid. If I didn't feel good, if I was stressed, I was in the tub. I had to be in water. Or I'll find myself laying in the grass and just being like, oh, okay, I feel better. Which if it wasn't raining after this show, I might just go lay out in my yard and, breathe through all this fun anxiety. So it's really just about, what do you need to connect? I had gone through a very traumatic time quite a few years ago that had caused some post-traumatic stress. And when I was going through therapy to work on processing through that, I actually found myself carrying a rock with me. And it was not like a small rock. It was a pretty big chunk rock. And I would sit in therapy with this rock, and that is what made me feel grounded. And until I was able to start processing through the emotions to process in therapy through the PTSD, there's times I would be in the house and I would go pick up the rock. And so trust your intuition as what feels good to you, what makes you start to feel like you're imbalanced. And I see Jackie is saying dirt is her grounder. Diana is saying my rock helps tremendously. And I agree. And you guys can't see all the spaces, within my office, but I have lots of rocks. Sometimes the ones that go with me, like for example, we did that holistic event here locally, which I was extremely nervous about. And I ended up taking my big chunk of black obsidian. And so it depends what you're needing in that moment. So trust your intuition, trust what is coming in that you need to balance out, to feel like you're in harmony. Sometimes it is, are you in alignment? So that will help too. Sometimes at least for me, have found just simply grounding doesn't always work. Sometimes doing some meditation, getting my chakras in balance, going to a Reiki session really helps. So those are all things to consider, but trust what your body is telling you and don't ignore it. And like me, start to try to learn, okay, anxiety. Oh, I need to ground. Instead of processing all the way through that emotion, letting it keep you up, learn to identify, hey, I need to step away right now. I need to take a few minutes. I need to ground. And I feel like that will really help. And, some people are like, I don't have the time. Make the time. You don't always need a 45-minute session to ground. Sometimes for me, if I'm stressed, I'll just go walk around the house a couple times barefoot, and that helps me. So find what works for you. Find little shortcuts in the interims, during the day that you can do that can get you through until you can take a longer time to kind of get yourself more back in alignment. Good morning, Robin. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so happy to have you. So, and again, don't, think, oh, I can only ground through my feet. No, you can ground wherever you're feeling like you need it, wherever you feel like the energy needs to come in. Let the energy, move around and go where it needs to go. Don't think that there's a right or a wrong way to ground. We're all different. So we all do things differently. So keep that in mind. I think sometimes when we start getting into holistic practices, there can be rigid guidelines sometimes in the way things are taught. But in my experience, we are all so different that we need to allow for some of that other ways to come in and realize that we're not wrong. If we're envisioning, the light coming in and grounding us through our crown chakra, that's fine. If you're envisioning it coming through your ear, whatever makes you feel better. So I hope that helps. And Shelby asked, she actually has two questions. So the first question she asked is, how do you stay motivated? I don't know. I don't know that I have a good answer for how to stay motivated, right? I'm supposed to be the person with the answers. But I don't have a great one for this. For me, staying motivated sometimes is just finding one thing to work towards during the day. Sometimes I find if I continually look at the big picture and what I'm trying to accomplish, what I'm trying to work towards, it can seem so extremely overwhelming. And so when, it's like cleaning out a space, cleaning out the clutter. There's lots of times where, okay, maybe you opened your closet and you're like, F this, and you close the closet up because it's overwhelming. But if you open it up and you go, oh, you know what? I can take this box out today. I can get rid of this and sort it and throw it away. You're making progress. So you may not be motivated in the whole totality, but find one thing, one small thing. If you can't look at the big picture, find one small thing during the day to work towards, to focus on, and to kind of make that your goal. Like, hey, I'm going to focus on this. Yeah, I might not have great motivation, but you'll still feel like you're making progress. And it's also important that people realize on days that we take for ourselves, or on days where maybe we don't feel like we have motivation, those days are important too, because it's important to regenerate your energy. It's important to take some time for self. It's important to take time for fun. We cannot completely sit every day and focus on this big picture and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. That's not why we're here. So we do want to be able to reach out and to accomplish things, but realize these other times where we just feel like, hey, you know what? Today I need to lay on the couch and I'm going to binge watch the latest season of Stranger Things. That's okay. That's okay. For me, I like to feel like I accomplish something every day. So usually it's I'll get up and I'll wash the dishes. If that's all I get done, at least I can say, you know what? I got that done. And I'm very visual. So when I walk into my kitchen, if I see, the kitchen sink overflowing with dishes, I feel like, "Oh, I didn't do anything today. My house is a disaster." But I know myself. And so if I get up in the morning, I start the pot of coffee, I wash the dishes, my kitchen doesn't look like a disaster when I walk through. And then I feel like I've accomplished something. I don't feel like things are compiling on me. So in those moments, Shelby, what I would say, and I guess I kind of digressed and went around the long way with this though, is if it's a big picture day, attack it. Some days we just wake up and we're ready to take on the world. If it's a small picture day, just find one thing that you can say, you know what? I made my bed today. You know what? I cleaned off my rocks. And you'll find that motivation is in there. So I hope that helps to you. She also asked, how do you become successful within this field? How do you network within this field? And the biggest thing I can tell you is when you are ready to step within this field, if you want to be successful, first, what is success to you? You have to define that. To me, I'm not on a big platform. I'm not John Edwards. I am not a big known name within the metaphysical world. But today, in what I overcame this morning, in what I accomplished by coming in and introducing myself and owning me, to me, that makes me successful. Today, I am successful because I'm living my truth. I'm being honest. And so, define to you what is successful. What do you want to accomplish to be successful? And then once you determine that, make sure the things that you're doing for the right reasons. You are doing and reaching out with integrity, always being full of integrity, doing things from a place that isn't consumed by ego, that you're not out there, I'm not out here being a communicator and connecting with spirit to end up on the big stage. So you have to identify what is success for you and make sure that you are coming from that truest place, that truest self. And I feel like as you do that, as you start moving in from a very true place of self, spirit puts people within your path. They bring those things in that divine timing for the right things. And for me, coming onto this platform, this is a great example. I really had debated, do I want to do a show? Like, who's going to listen to me? Who am I going to reach? How am I going to reach anybody? And I felt really that this is the way I could be a resource. And I had, during one of the previous shows that I was doing with Paranormal Pete, I had a viewer reach out, and I asked her to reach out to me after the show to help her with some things that were going on. And she did. And we talked on the phone, probably a good hour and a half. And she had messaged me a little bit later and thanked me. And that made me feel good. But what really humbled me was when she showed up at my event that was 2.5 to 3 hours away from her. That to me is being successful. Her coming to talk to me to say, hey, you helped my family. That's being successful. So good morning, Lisa. I love you. And so coming in and having that, knowing this is why I stepped into that platform and I was able to affect that help. I was able to be the resource that I intended to be, makes me successful. So define to you what is successful. Know that as you start stepping into that, Spirit's going to put the right people in there to work with you. You know, I didn't know the producer Todd when I first started taking classes with Diet. I didn't know Maria. I didn't know a lot of these people who have now come into my life and have become a huge support. Good morning, Elise. Thank you for tuning in. And so that's really important. So allow that space to be successful, allow yourself to do it with integrity, and then allow Spirit to move in these other people to support you. And Pamela, she says, I found if I eat earth-friendly food for a day, I get grounded and feel energized. And I like that. She says she feels reset. And I've noticed that too. There's times where Spirit will move me through a period of eating different things, wanting different things to come in and allowing it to kind of fill its place. You know, Spirit put me on this kick where all I ate was like yogurt and salad, which was not fun. And I'm like, no, Spirit, I want a big steak, but then I wouldn't feel good. And that was part of them resetting me and kind of putting me on a path of where they needed me to be and focus on what I needed to focus on. Lisa, I am so glad that you guys felt empowered, and I appreciate you just as much. Good morning, Annie. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. So if you guys have any other questions that you want to pop in, we are going to go to our last station break. When we come back, we are going to do some card readings. And I was only going to go with 5. Spirit gave me 7. So during the break, focus on your intentions. What are you looking for guidance on? It could be 1 through 7. It could be a number of any of them. And then I'm also going to pull, I have a deck that is called Postcards from Spirit. And so I'm going to select a card to read to you guys from Spirit too, with their message to kind of end out the week. So we will see you guys all back here in a few minutes for a few more questions and then our weekly card reading. Thank you.
Would you like to be a part of something new, something different? Host a show with WLTK-DB Talk Radio and dare to be different. We offer full production and live engineering of your show by a real person, not a pesky computer. Just visit WLTK-DB.com and click pricing to get started. It's not as much as you think and a great way for you to get your message to the world. Better hurry. Slots fill up fast and you don't want to miss out on this excellent opportunity. Visit WLTK-DB.com and contact us for more information now. WLTK-DB Talk Radio. Paranormal talk is our business, and business is good. From its beginnings, Used was created to unleash the excellence of nature's healing powers and bring them to people everywhere. With almost 90 years in the market, they are considered a worldwide pioneer in complete herbal wellness therapy. All Swiss Used products are natural, essential oil-based, pleasant, and harmonious. They are extracted from plants and herbs with the latest technology to ensure the best results. Swiss Used Live Healthy with consultant Stephanie will guide you in the right direction to find the perfect essential products just for you. For example, have an upset tummy? Try our soothing chamomile that has not only been used by many, but trusted for years. Keep in mind, you just can't get these amazing oils at your local shopping center. They're just too special. For that, you need a connection. And that connection is Stephanie. Want some? Then head on over to Facebook and search Swiss Used Live Healthy. That's Swiss Used Live Healthy. And contact Stephanie today.
Welcome back to Chat with Charlie. I am your host, Stephanie Lynn, and you are listening on WLTK-DB. Let's Talk Paranormal Radio. So, if you're just tuning in, we were answering a bunch of questions. I really want to tell everybody how much I appreciate you sending in questions. We had a ton of questions this week. The ones that I was not able to get to, we will touch base on in upcoming shows. And some of them we will carry over to guests that were coming in over the next couple of weeks. So Lisa's asking, she says, I was wondering if you could speak to a good source or process using divination tools. The Ouija board and pendulums are often in different categories for people, but I've heard more frequently now they are one and the same. I personally, I do some work with the pendulum. I do not use a Ouija board. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. For me, it goes back to a conversation that I had with my great grandmother, where she asked me never to use one. I know lots of people that use them and they use them successfully. I know a lot of people who use their pendulum for everything. Personally, for me, when I am using a divination tool along that matter, if it's not my pendulum, it's usually the divining rods, which I call my talking sticks. And I really like those. I have a lot of great success with those. And, I'm going to write down maybe one day on one of the upcoming shows, actually maybe next Thursday, because I don't have a guest scheduled. We can talk about some of the different categories, the divination. I can bring out my pendulum. I can bring out my talking sticks and kind of go over how some of that works for everybody to understand. So I know that didn't quite answer your question. Yes, the talking sticks, that's what my boys call them, is the talking sticks. And I do like those because it's very clear movements with those, where I feel like sometimes, for me anyway, because I don't work with the pendulum very frequently, that the movement is much clearer to me and I feel connected and understand them more. So a couple things coming up on the show. First of all, if you are friends with Charlie Lynn on Facebook, just know that name is going to be getting adjusted. Same face, just the real me. We have coming up in July. So July 14th, write this down, is our live reading panel. The girls are coming back in. That will be a live reading show. So start saving up those psychic questions that you want to have answered. The 21st, I am going to have Terry Flick coming in talking about energy healing. Great show. You guys don't want to miss any of these. There's going to be a lot of great information. So if you have, questions about Reiki, things like that, please send those in for that show. The 28th, I will have Dawn Olson. We're going to be talking about holistic self-care, about her podcast. August 4th, big bold letters, people, on your calendar, is the 2-hour Chat with Charlie special. We are going to have Jennifer Lee and Michael Christopher, both psychic mediums. They also host, it's called Somewhere in the Middle with Mike and Jen on Facebook. They will be coming in to answer both mediumship and psychic questions. So start jotting those questions down. Be prepared. You are going to love them. And then in September, I am going to have Ellie coming in, and we touched a little bit about this. She's going to be talking about attachments, portals, clearing spaces. So you don't want to miss any of those. A lot of great information, a lot of great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. Shows. Guys, you can hop onto WLTK-DB.com. That is the station website. Current shows, if there's nothing on air, you can go back, you can watch shows, you can watch replays, you can read the blogs. So much information on there. They also now have an app, so check it out in Google Play. This is what we got going on. So you guys are aware that we have a new show coming on sometime in mid-July. Haven't heard a date yet, which will be with psychic medium Kenneth Drake. He will be hosting Voices of the Dead. Today, Thursday, finishing out the day will be Realm of Darkness with Renee and Ashley at 7. And Afterlife Chronicles, with Nicole Strickland at 8. Friday, don't miss the Good Shit Show with Missy Hart at 9 a.m. The Psychic Hour Reading Show will be on at 3 p.m., and that is with Kelly Brickle. And Secrets Within with Rini Rodriguez ends the night at 8. Mondays, School Through Spirit with Dayette Renee at 9 a.m. Monday Morning Monsters with Barnaby Jones airs at noon, and Be the Change with Christina Bloom is at 8. Tuesdays, Unfiltered with Dayette Renee. She answers your psychic questions. Check her out at 6 p.m. Paranormal Pete with Pete or Bea at 10. And then Wednesdays, the Psychic Hour with Kelly Brickle at 3 p.m. and Over the Target with Missy and Nicole at 8. So there's really a ton of variety of shows for everybody. It's not just paranormal. It's not just psychic. There's conspiracy. There's crime. Check them all out. You guys will love them. Okay. Here is the cards. So we got 7 today. And we're going to kind of go through them a little fast because we don't have a ton of time left. So kind of start thinking which cards you are looking for. I am using the Sacred Forest Oracle deck by Denise Lynn again. So this has kind of turned into my favorite deck lately. I'm not sure why. So the first card that they're going to give us is the Air Spirit, which represents knowledge. And really, when I look at this card is representing, you see her on a journey. You see her entering into the fog. And this really represents to me, if you picked a number 1, your journey has been about gaining the knowledge so that you can further yourself in your journey. And so now's the time. You're starting to gain that knowledge. It's time to take that journey. It's time to trust the knowledge that has been instilled so that you can continue out, so that you can continue on your journey. You can bring in new things, but allowing that knowledge to lead you. You have enough and you can do it. The next card is Spirit's kind of funny today. Aspen Spirit. It talks about courage, right? Courage. And, this morning, like I talked about, courage is not the lack of fear. Courage is being afraid, but having that ability to step forward, to keep going, to step out of your comfort zone. So if you picked number 2, Spirit is really calling to you and telling you now is the time. Be courageous. You have a community of people. You have support. Be courageous, whether it's following your dreams, speaking your truth. Now is the time for that action. The next card is Pegasus. You can't make this stuff up, people. Talking about transcending. And I really feel like a lot of these cards is Spirit kind of hitting me in the head with that 4x4. Not just you guys, but they're on me too. So transcending is really tying it together. It's talking about leveling up, moving into that next stage of life. So are you holding yourself back from something? Are you fearful of taking that next step because you're afraid you're not going to obtain something? Be courageous, be willing to take that step, allow yourself to transcend, stop holding yourself back. A lot of us do that. We set limitations on ourselves. The things that we think become our process. So stop limiting yourself. Don't be afraid to step forward. Don't be afraid to step into it. Allow Spirit to level you up and allow yourself to transcend. Okay, card number 4 is the Thicket of Thorns and Uncertainty, right? We're all uncertain. Nothing within life, nothing within our day-to-day is guaranteed. There's uncertainty in all of it. And when you look at life, and this is something that had occurred to me a long time ago, is we really just have a perception of control. We have a perception of that control within our lives, but we really don't have that control. Everything is uncertain. Nothing is guaranteed. And when we think we have that control, and when we make these plans and we look at things far out, really, is there certainty there? Are you putting off living today and doing things and having that joy for another day? So face that uncertainty. If you're afraid to make some choices, face that uncertainty. Live your truth. Yes, Jackie, I agree. Spirit is being very forward and a little bit sassy today. Because the next card talks about retreat. So this is the Spirit Guardian of Wander, right? And when Spirit's coming in and talking about retreat and looking at all these other cards that they're giving us, is also reminding us, yes, you slay these dragons, you face these things, but you know what? We also have to take that time, bubble ourselves up, ground, retreat, give ourselves space to regenerate. Every night you plug in your cell phone, right? Every night you plug in your electronics. How do you plug yourself in? Find that retreat for yourself. Find that way to regenerate, to rejuvenate, to relax. The next card is the Daffodil Fairy, and it talks about new beginnings, right? And I feel like new beginnings are coming. This is speaking to allowing yourself that opportunity to allow them to come in, not being fearful of new beginnings. New beginnings can be scary because sometimes when new beginnings comes in, that means that there's something ending. You know, we're finishing a chapter within the book, but the next chapter hasn't been written. And so allow yourself to write that next chapter, allow yourself that new beginning, and allow yourself to continue. Don't hold yourself within that one space, and look at the opportunities. Find the opportunities in everyday life. Sometimes we look at things and we feel just so stuck, and we say, you know, I'm not getting to where I want to be. I'm not making progress. But have you opened the door to the opportunity when it knocked? Allow those new beginnings to move into your life. And the last card, Guardian of the Land, talks about protection. And, you know, this card really comes in a lot of ways. I think it speaks of that bubbling up, protecting ourselves, looking at and being mindful of the outside forces that affect things that are going on. But it also talks about building the walls around our vulnerability, which it's okay. It's okay to have protection, but are you allowing that exchange of energy? So if you're looking at, you know, really being in this high vibration and needing to kind of bring it down, needing to learn to bubble up, needing to learn how to control that energy, I feel like this card is really talking to you. And it's also telling you, when you're looking at these choices, you have that spiritual protection there with you. Trust your intuition. Yes, Erica, I agree. This sounds like our setting limits talk the other week. So it does. And it's that self-protection, it's that self-perseverance, but also knowing that staying and having protection does not mean there is inaction. It's the setting boundaries. But even if you think about it, when you put a fence around a field, you can still move within that field. And so you have to allow yourself to move even in that place of protection. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to do is I did pick a postcard, and this deck is actually by Colette Baron Reed, and it's called Postcards from Spirit. And this is what the backside of the postcard looks like. And this is a great set. If you're somebody who pulls cards or wants messages from Spirit, there's 52 messages in here in postcard form. And this one's pretty interesting. And so we'll try to read it without going back to being emotional. But this is what Spirit wants us all to know. It says, "Dearest you, did you ever wonder whether your ideas and inspiration might be coming through your soul rather than generated from your mind alone? We are here to tell you, we are always whispering in your ear about your highest good. We are conduits for Spirit, letting you know you are a living channel for this awesome co-creative energy. When you're feeling inspired, it means you heard us. Inspiration means Spirit is breathing through you. Inspiration needs your human passion to keep it going so you can make a difference in the world. So keep moving on what inspires you. Let yourself be led into new experiences and know that this is why you are on Earth. Your purpose is to discover your spirited nature and to bring forth your efforts, whatever is meant to be. Wondrous miracles have a way of showing up when you let inspiration propel you forward. You are so loved." And so with that, guys, I want you to remember, Spirit's here. They're supporting us. They love us. They're cheering us on. And thank you. Truly, thank you all for letting me be here with you, for taking me in on this platform, for your questions, for your engagement. There are not enough words to tell you how much I appreciate this network and how much I appreciate you guys. So this is your host, Stephanie Lynn, and I will catch you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in.